And how many of you have seen art somewhere outside of a museum? So this brings up the question, is one more legitimate than the other? Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about street art, and in particular, Banksy. So Banksy is an anonymous street artist who does art all around the world, and his identity has been unknown for about 20 years, and all that people know for sure is that he's in his 40s and that he is male. So for me, I first heard about Banksy in my high school art class when my art teacher brought up some of his work, and I was really inspired because I had never comprehended this idea that you could create something artistic outside of a sphere that is designated for that. So it's important for all of us to know about Banksy because he's not only prominent in society today, but he challenges us to look up from our everyday lives and question the world around us, which is really important if we're going to move forward in the world. So today I'm going to talk to you about 3 different aspects of his art: the controversy of street art, modern life, and then global issues. So for the controversy of street art, I want to start with this metaphor of dirt. And it's actually Mary Douglas's theory, posted in the Journal of Consumer Research in 2010. And she brings up this idea that it's not the thing itself that is dirt, it's people's perception of it as dirt. So this idea that things that seem out of place to people are seen as like illegal, for instance, street art. And Banksy really turns this idea and uses it in his work. So for instance, one thing that he does is he sneaks some of his art into museums. So this is one piece right here. Screen right here. There we go. Okay, so there. All right, so this is a little rock that kind of represents like a caveman drawing that he snuck into a museum. And there's 2 important things about this piece. The first one is that the man has a shopping cart instead of like a bow and arrow to go hunting. And so that's like this commentary on commercialism and this idea of like consumerism in society, that, you know, he's going with a shopping cart instead of actually hunting. And then the second idea is that it's really similar to like art from a caveman, which that kind of art is like treasured and put in museums and it's considered a part of culture. But graffiti art, which is very similar, like it's spray paint on a wall, is considered illegal and people cover it up. And so through that, he's really questioning like people's idea of what street art really is. And I read about this in an article called The Art of Activism by Wendy Simmons in 2013. And this whole idea of challenging the ideas in society continues as he moves on to challenging issues in modern life. So for instance, in this picture that he did, he's bringing up that idea that as technology advances, it actually brings people further apart because they're in this close embrace, but they're not really together, they're on their cell phones. And then another example of challenging modern life is this image here, where he brings 2 authoritative figures to the forefront to challenge that idea of homosexuality and PDA in public. And his art gets even more interesting as he moves into the global sphere. So one issue that he's very passionate about is Guantanamo Bay. So basically this was a prison created after 9/11 where the US held people who were very like high risk, but they didn't have trials a lot of the time, and it was kind of questionable whether or not they should be held there, so it's a very controversial topic. So what he did to challenge this is he made an inflatable that looked like a prisoner from Guantanamo Bay, and he snuck it into Disneyland and put it next to one of the rides, and it looked like this. And this act became more than just art when the man with him, who was filming this entire process, actually was questioned and taken in by the authorities. So this was more than art, it was actually political activism. And you can hear more about this through the Exit Through the Gift Shop documentary by Banksy in 2010. Another big issue that he attacked kind of globally is the Israeli-Palestinian wall, where Israel put up this wall basically to stop suicide bombers from Palestine coming in. Except it's very controversial, and a lot of people question why it was put up at all. And Banksy is even quoted saying that it turned Palestine into the world's largest open prison. And that was published by S. Chung in 2009 in Art Education. And so this is one of the murals he did on that wall to depict, you know, what the wall is really protecting them from. And so you can see through to this innocent boy with a pail. And even though he was, you know, doing this to bring this issue forward, and it was successful in that, it made his art a lot more popular, there was controversy even with people who agreed with him on this topic. He was quoted having a conversation with an old man who said, "We don't want it to be beautiful. We hate this wall. Go home." And that was published by N. Perry in a journal in Threshold in 2006. So essentially that brings up that idea that, as he transitions into the global sphere, it becomes more controversial, and it's not really about pleasing people, it's about making people, question what they believe to be true in society. And ultimately, street art is essential to this societal mindset because it makes people notice their environment and question the norm, whether that is what defines art, if it's our modern life, or if it's global issues. And in the end, it doesn't matter whether you see art in a museum or on the street because it's your perception of it that gives it value. Thank you.
Okay. Sophie, how was this for you?
It was pretty good. I felt kind of shaky, but I don't know.
With length?